Hello, YouTube. There might be flashing in this episode, but probably not.
There's a lot of nuts talk. Jack is here for a little bit, even though he's not currently here. Mm-hmm. And Brandon Walker is the #1 YKB boy in the country. We don't talk about it at all.
He handles it with so much grace.
Enjoy, like, subscribe, comment for the algorithm, do all that stuff. Just enjoy.
Army Navy, we'll see you soon.
Hi. Welcome to Unnecessary Roughness, Barstool's college football podcast. Brought to you by the good folks at High Noon Hard Seltzer. It is delicious. It is wonderful. And Casey's going to tell you all about it.
It is amazing. I am sitting next to an El Prez pack that's between myself and Jack Mack, who has not had a tangerine, and I am taking every ounce of self-control right now not to rip into this box. I know Katie would be mad at me if I did that, to give you a tangerine, Jack. I want you to try it so bad.
You know what? All right, I haven't drank in a little bit, and I'm in a little bit of a
well, that's different.
No, but it's not that. It's like 2 weeks. It's not intentional.
Oh, never mind.
So, but we have the Christmas party next Thursday, and I'll definitely have one before that. And I probably will drink. Maybe I'll have a drink on Friday too. So you know what?
Tangerine High Noons.
I'm gonna have the tangerine soon. Don't you worry.
Usually when I ask you, we're not in the same place. We're currently sitting. We can touch each other easily. But before I touch you, I can touch the tangerine, which makes me want to give you a tangerine. But passion fruit, pineapple. Yeah, that's all sounded.
Pause.
That
yeah.
all sounded
Hey,
very
yo.
weird. That all sounded very weird. I meant it very family-friendly show.
Oh, of course.
Family-friendly. HighNoonSunsips.com, the passion fruit, pineapple, pear, and tangerine, the El Prez pack. You've also still got the game day pack, the tequila, all the original flavors. It's amazing.
What else is there to say about it?
Holiday parties are coming up.
Holiday parties.
Tailgates.
Family.
You're going to need some tangerines. You're going to need some pears or passion fruits.
Secret
or pineapples.
Santa. Whatever the PC word.
That's a good one. Like Office Secret Santa. It
Yeah.
often has a limit of like $30.
PC. I don't know what the PC
oh boy, here we go.
team or term is. Isn't there like
Silver Elephant?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
That feels like that could be problematic
Yankee
too.
swap.
But you know what's never problematic? High Noon Hard Seltzer.
As
Go
long
find
as you
it
drink
now.
responsibly.
Drink responsibly. Okay, so
Hey, Brandon Walker.
hey, Brandon Walker.
That's not my name.
That's not my name.
Hey, Brandon Walker, the #1 college football media personality according to Big Game Boomer on the internet.
Hello, Casey. How are you?
Did I sell that the way you wanted me to sell it?
Not really, but you got close enough.
No, but really, though, congratulations. I saw this yesterday. Of course, we have a history with Big Game Boomer on this podcast. We've gone at him a couple times. Obviously, we've read his lists.
Big Game Boomer knows ball. He knows ball.
I saw it coming. When I saw you at #1, I was like, we are about to do the biggest Big Game Boomer PR run ever. I was also on the list. Jack was on the list. Katie, I don't know how you were left off the list.
I'm not this was the first time I know, and it's a clickbait, whatever. David Blattman, who's also another producer. Like, I'm a non-content person. It makes sense. I'm not on it. It's whatever. David Blattman, a producer, behind-the-scenes guy, is on it, too. That was the first time. I was like, that's petty. Big Game Boomer did that on purpose.
For sure. He also put Brandon Walker, #1 YKB boy, at #1.
I didn't like that I was 66. I
tough.
wanted to be 67 or 65. 66 is the devil's number, so I'm not acknowledging.
It's one off.
What?
It's one off.
No. If someone says 66, you know what they're talking
Okay.
about. Don't worry, I know about the devil.
Wait, Brandon doesn't want our shine to be taken away from his shine. Brandon, congratulations, #1 YKB boy. Out of all the YKB boys.
So
it is huge.
And gals, YKB boys and girls.
I'm so happy for him. I forgot that Big Game Boomer was releasing this soon.
I did too. I completely forgot.
What a huge moment to end 2023.
Well, last year I was 4th, and I think everybody in the country knew I was underrated, knew I was undervalued. I was behind Josh Pate last year and Kirk Herbstreit and RG3. And I overtook all of them because I pissed college football. I am college football. Nobody in this sport knows it like I do. Nobody talks about it like I do. I am Mr. College Football. I am Mr. #1. Listen, congratulations to me. It is well-deserved. Your top 5 were, let's see, you had Alyssa Lang at 5, sure, whatever. #4, Josh Pate, barely
What's
made
wrong
the
with
playoff.
Alyssa Lang?
She's great.
Ricochet shots.
Cole Kubalik, I said fine, whatever.
Keep going.
Cole Kubalik, #3. I don't know who that is. RG3, not a very good quarterback. And then #1, Brandon Walker, as it should be. So good. Listen, Big Game Boomer, I've always been a fan of this guy. I've always said this is a passionate college football fan that we need to take his takes seriously.
You definitely have. You know, as the number one guy on the list, I will never disagree with your takes on Big Game Boomer. I will say, I think I dropped on the list a little bit. I'm at 21 this year. I believe I was a little bit higher. I will say I was shocked I was ahead of Kirk Herbstreit. Kirk Herbstreit.
No, he did that intentionally.
So here's the thing. You can tell.
Put me ahead of him.
No.
Oh.
Here's the thing. You can
woke.
tell that something happened with Big Game Boomer and the Game Day guys this year, because last year they were all top 10. Now you've got Herbstreit at 21. McAfee went from like number 2 to number 46.
He also, and Herbstreit is enemy number 1 on the Twitter streets right now towards
Florida State.
Florida State. We should come out with our own list here. So,
Ooh.
but we don't have any of us on the list.
Well, Brandon can't do that.
It will
He
be
doesn't know how to not
very,
put
it would be
himself on the
very
list.
difficult to tell the story of college football media without Brandon Walker. I am willing to attempt it, though.
I think number
Okay,
1 would be.
I think that we should do this. We should do this for like an off season, not an off season, like maybe like a dead period between now and the college football playoff. But Brandon, I have a question for you regarding this, and I want to know your true, honest answer.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed you were trolling everybody else that you were ahead of. Why didn't you troll me?
Well, I didn't troll anybody inside of Barstool. That's outside of Dave. I didn't troll. I only trolled Dave. I didn't troll.
No, you're good. You're good.
I didn't troll Will Compton. I didn't troll Big Cat. I didn't troll you. I really just wanted to at everybody. And Dave is a fucking idiot and has no business being top 6. So
you were not trolling me because you respect me.
I wouldn't go that far.
Damn it, Brandon! That was the answer you're supposed to give.
I didn't troll you because I was going after. I was fishing in a different pond yesterday. I went after Dan Mullen and Feinbaum and Aaron Murray and all those guys, and I didn't really think about trolling the Barstool
Why'd you go after
guy.
Aaron Murray?
Yeah, he's had some weird beef with Aaron
No,
Murray.
I don't have any beef with Aaron Murray. I wasn't beefing. All I said to Aaron Murray was check it out, Aaron Murray. I also I added Stacy Keebler. I thought she needed to know, and I thought Trish Stratus needed to know.
Okay,
It's a gracious winner.
I figured it out. He didn't at me because he knew I had seen it already.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
But
what it
also, no,
was.
he's a gracious winner. He wanted to make sure
Yes,
everyone else on
he's-
the list had made sure they saw their rankings. Not everyone checks Twitter as much as Brandon does. So it was a gracious move. by him.
May I say one thing about Dan Mullen? And
Yeah.
this is like beside all this list. I think he's always been good at a desk or behind a microphone. Watching him debate the college football playoff committee's decision, he's gotten so good. I know a lot of people want to see him back in coaching. Like, he's a phenomenal sports broadcaster. Like, I love listening to him. Beside the point, Brandon,
Yeah, that's great.
congratulations.
Back to the
You have a
list.
whole-
to the list. You've got guys like T. Bob Hebert there. You've got Joey Galloway, Tony Barnhart, Andy Staples, Clay Travis, which I don't know who that is, Tim Tebow, Pat McAfee. Let's see, Rick. I don't know how to say that name. It's just a bunch of guys that are trying and are attempting to make a name for themselves in
On the
college
come
football.
up.
They're on the come up. And Paul
You remember when you were on the come up? You've arrived.
Paul Feinbaum, good luck. You're a young whippersnapper. Look like the goddamn crypt keeper. Katie George, I don't know who that is. Bud Elliott.
That's surprising.
Bud Elliott. Pat you on the head. Like things are going well for you guys. You're really moving up.
Patting Bud Elliott on the head is.
It's so disrespectful and awesome.
No,
at the same time.
Bud's great. I like.
No, Bud's.
He's
Did you see your face on a certain trash can?
I mean, I don't really pay attention to what number 4 does. Pate is trying to get attention, and anytime you're on top of the mountain, people are going to take shots at you, and they're going to do everything.
It's true.
Do I worry about people that are still climbing the mountain? No, not really, because it's cold up here, and I got to make sure that I'm comfortable. So it's going to be a dynasty. I'm going to be here for a while, and I'm going to be right where I belong, number 1.
What happens when Big Game Boomer does this next year and just leaves Brandon off for the reaction on the equal side?
I can tell you exactly what's going to happen.
Well, it's not going to happen. He's going to be number 1 next year.
No, if he leaves him off, he's going to know that Brandon will have an equal hate reaction,
Yeah.
like you just said, and Brandon will act like Big Game Boomer is the worst.
Let me
person
tell y'all
to play.
something.
I got some clips.
Y'all
I can pull
realize
up.
every fan base in America feels some type of way about me?
Oh,
Yeah.
Right.
No shit.
No, hey, listen, Brandon, I've been saying this for a long time, and people have been saying this for the eternity of humanity. The opposite of love is not hate, it's apathy.
Yeah.
And in college sports, in college football particularly, if you don't care about somebody, you do not tweet at them,
Yeah.
you do not DM them, you do not talk about them. No one is apathetic to Brandon Walker. That is a fact, and that means you're in a good spot.
I do want to.
Yeah.
I do want to do our top 100 list or our top 50 list of media personalities at some point. Go ahead, Jack.
I had a high school group chat that hasn't been active in years. And after Michigan beat Ohio State, a friend of mine I've kept up with him, but, we were high school friends and then just kind of like fell off a little bit. He went to Michigan, and he sent in the group chat after Michigan won. He said, hey, Jack Mac, tell Brandon Walker to go kill himself. And I didn't. Out of respect, I just said, hey. I responded. I was like, LOL. He's actually a good guy. And he was like, I don't believe you. So that's
Hey, that's
Yeah.
not apathetic, Brandon. You're doing something right. Speaking of Josh Pate, I apparently have been told I need to send my Aggie ring to him. So, Josh Pate, you may be getting my Aggie ring in the mail because Aggies want me to send it to you. I don't even want to get into that. Brandon, congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and yeah, we can move on. I guess. I guess we can move on. I don't know.
No.
We could spend the whole
Let's
show.
do
on
the
it.
ads, 1, 2, and then end it right there.
All right, there you go.
This
Stamp it.
was
Yep.
the
This
show.
was just the celebratory Brandon Walker show.
Hey, we set all the cameras up. Congratulations. Number 1. Top of the world. Number 1.
Never lost.
Never lost.
Can I say something that actually
Pound for pound.
this just being a fans list that means nothing in the long run, it is kind of crazy if you think about the names Brandon Walker, Casey Smith, Jack McGuire, and should be Katie Stats, beside the names RG3 and Matt Leinart and Kirk Herbstreit and all these guys that have been like big time for us are like it's fake life stuff being even on a list.
Yeah, 100%.
It's crazy.
Even being on a list with guys like that's just seeing it written out is pretty crazy.
Like they all, even if they don't, I also, I'm gonna have to give Brandon's ego credit. They probably know, most of them know who you are, but if they don't, they are now gonna have to look up who you are and now will know.
I would be shocked if
Anybody in college football
maybe
probably
like
knows.
Reggie Bush and like Mark Ingram and whatnot, because they just like do the show and they go like, I would assume most of the people know who Brandon is. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard not to. I think they know who Casey is too.
Well, I also worked with a lot of those people.
Yeah,
too,
that's
so.
more. I just didn't want to pump up the ego, but yeah, I think a lot of
I know
people
what
on
you're
that
saying,
list
though.
definitely.
I completely agree.
Brandon is, as if he's not sitting on this podcast right now as we're talking about him, he is very polarizing. So if you are on social media and you cover college football, you've absolutely seen a Brandon Walker take here or there.
I'll take credit for that one.
Are they going to have you on the sideline for the Missouri-Ohio State game? Like, Mizzou should.
They should. They absolutely should. I've been driving the bus all year. If the bus is taking them to the game, I should be on the bus.
But technically, Ohio State could have him on the sideline too.
Everybody could have me on the sideline. Florida
Like,
State could have me.
Not that he wants to be called Buckeye Brandon, but he is named Buckeye Brandon on some level.
Well,
in
that's
this
just
company.
that's just a moron who can't name 5 players trying to lash out at people.
But I'm just saying Ohio State could own that. Ohio State's a little bit, I don't say a mess. They're not a mess, but I know they're losing a lot of guys in the transfer portal. The transfer portal, by the way, not to get super into the nitty gritty, because I know we're going to get a lot more answers probably before the next time. There's 1,200 guys in the transfer portal already.
How does that compare to recent years?
I think it's triple, isn't it? On this day.
On this day.
So I made a realization today. When I was looking at the transfer portal things, I clicked on an article that said top 20 quarterbacks available in the transfer portal. And think about this. The starting quarterback of the Ohio State Buckeyes, who went 11-1 and fell 30 yards short of a perfect season, is in the transfer portal. And he ranks 8th among available quarterbacks. That's the quality and the quantity of quarterbacks in the transfer portal right now. I mean, I'm not saying he had a great year, but think about that. The starting quarterback of a top 3 program is in the portal, and he's not a top 5 quarterback you can go get. It's really crazy. Yeah, I was looking at it today, and I don't even know if I agree with the rankings. It had Dylan Gabriel number 1, Cam Ward number 2, and on and so forth. Like, there's just the entire sport changes every single offseason now, and it's hard to keep up with. I don't think it's better or worse. I just think it's different.
It's different, and it's going to continue to be different. I do think, the people who were so staunchly against the transfer portal and staunchly against like making this more of like free agency and looking more like professional sports, like they have a reason to complain at how like out of control they feel like it's getting, but this is just what's going to happen. And unfortunately, if you disagree with it, you're just going to have to accept it with the NIL and the way everything's been going. Like this is just the way of life now in college football, and if you don't like it, I don't know what to tell you, because it's not going to slow down. It's not going to stop. I do find the Kyle McCord situation interesting, Brandon. Why do you think, like I know there's some information that has come out and there's rumors, but why do you think a guy like that enters the transfer portal?
I think he was told, you're not guaranteed to have our starting position next year. I think that's very easy. I think he was either told, you're going to have to compete, or Kyle, we have another guy coming in, and we're going to help you land wherever you can land, but we're going to go a different direction. That's what I believe. There's no guarantee that is in fact, but I see no other reason anytime. If you have the Ohio State job, you don't go looking for other jobs unless you have been led to believe you need to.
And I think that's where people, because I agree with you, I think that's where people are pissed, right? That like don't like the transfer portal, which again, you got to get on board or you're just never going to be able to be happy in the sport. But they're like, well, why wouldn't a guy want to go compete? Like he should be able to compete for that job, and if he's good enough, he can win it. And that's where people are pissed. And it's like, well, I don't know what to tell you. They have the option to leave now, just like coaches have the option to leave and always have.
Keep this in mind. A lot of people look at the transfer portal and they say, oh, these players, they're just never happy. They transfer, they get here, they don't stick to their word, and then they leave. You need to know this. There's a lot of players in the transfer portal that got there because that's where they wanted to go. There's a lot of players in the transfer portal who were urged to get in there, who were helped to get in there, who were kind of told, if you want to play football, you better transfer. Like, these schools are not blameless in this transfer portal thing that we have now. It's not simply a matter of players not being happy. Sometimes the school ain't happy. Sometimes the school believes they can get better. Sometimes the school believes they've had conversations that lead them to believe a better quarterback's coming in. So don't blame the players if you don't like it. I'm indifferent to it. But do not blame the players solely if you don't like it, because the schools are very, 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 very willing participants.
Well, and I feel like a lot of the people who are blaming the players for doing this are the same people that have never wanted to admit that coaches can leave at any given point to go better themselves at a different job for more money or a higher position or a different conference or whatever. And now that players can do that, they're like, see, this is the only reason that they would go, because they don't want to compete for a starting job like Kyle McCord at Ohio State. However, not to, bring every single thing about Colorado and Deion up, because we know how that goes. But Deion outwardly said, like, I'm bringing my Louis, so you guys better get it together. If you think that conversation's not happening behind closed doors everywhere across the country, you're wrong. He said it publicly. People got pissed, but those conversations are happening everywhere. It is fascinating to me how many guys have entered it. And now, of course, the rumors of where people are going to go, like Riley Leonard, is he going to end up at Oregon? A lot of people think that. Who's Mississippi State going to get, with Jeff Lebby? Like, I don't know. Like, I guess at one point, Dylan Gabriel was rumored to go there. That part to me is very fascinating. The weird thing is and I'm seeing it in my A&M bubble, but that guys will enter the transfer portal and people are still like, well, they could stay at A&M. So it's like they're entering the transfer portal to maybe date around, but they might stay where they are. That is a fascinating angle too.
Yeah, no, you have to recruit high school players, you have to recruit players from other teams, and you have to recruit your own players. That's yes. Welcome to life in college football in 2023. Enjoy. Yeah, Jack?
Brandon?
Oh, I thought Jack was talking. Where did Jack go?
He texted in the group about it.
He texted in the group.
Oh, sorry. I thought Jack.
He's going to play your trivia show.
Oh, he's going to do the dozen.
The Brandon Walker trivia show.
Imagine in some live show if it's a championship and it's Brandon versus Jack.
Oh my God, it'd be phenomenal. The YKB boys would be in disarray.
Oh.
Brandon, speaking of Twitter, I noticed this. I think it was last week. I was on an airplane and I was noticing you going back and forth with somebody who was making fun of the way you dress, which makes no sense. You know why? Because Roback is so comfortable. Roback is so stylish. And I saw the guy that was like, you're a 56-year-old wearing hoodies talking about college football. I was like, that's
Robacks are a different category of
hoodie. No, this guy was making fun of me, and he said, Dude, look at you. You're such a loser. You're a 56-year-old man wearing Roback hoodies and talking about college football for a living. And I was like, yeah, I am. You just described an awesome life. That's fantastic.
And then he followed it up with something like, yeah, like I need to talk to the cool dad. I was like, oh my God, gasp. He's a cool dad too. But I responded back to the guy and I said, oh, Roback is phenomenal, by the way. Use code ROUGH for 20% off. And I'd like to remind everybody that's listening to this or watching this that it is the holiday season. It's also very cold outside in a lot of places where you're probably consuming this podcast right now, and the quarter zips and the hoodies, the joggers,
fleeces.
The
fleece
Brandon,
was awesome.
You and I have been wearing the fleece when we've been on the road or on the college football show. Phenomenal clothing.
You know what's kind of disappointing this week? We're going to Foxborough for Army-Navy, and I don't think the weather is going to be fleece-worthy. I think it's going to be a little too, yeah, it's going to be a little too warm. It's going to be like 52 degrees in Foxborough this weekend, which will be fine for these hoodies and everything. But the fleeces, boy, they are very, very warm and comfortable. Now, maybe you can get away with it. I don't know, but I'll be wearing one of my Roback hoodies like I'm wearing right now.
Yes, we are all outfitted by Roback on that college football show, and we're all outfitted on Unnecessary Roughness. And you can go to roback.com, Brandon. That's RHOBACK.com, and that's 20% off your first purchase of hoodies, crews, fleeces, and more with code ROUGH, ROUGF.
Also, with it being
GF,
the last live show of the year, you know what happens after that?
What?
All the Roback that they have pulled aside for the entire season becomes a free-for-all.
I did not know that.
Oh, I'm bringing an extra bag just so I can take
Oh,
it.
So all the stuff that we didn't wear all year, people can just take?
That's what happened last year.
Nice.
Hey,
that's great.
I'm taking all mine. And
had I known the option that I could take them, I might. But Katie, you can have mine.
Theoretically, it happened last year. I'm not. Don't take anything.
They do pull a lot. And by the way, people have asked me a lot, like, would you wear Roback if they weren't a sponsor of multiple shows you're on? Absolutely. It's
I wear it to work.
Comfortable. Brandon, I know you wanted us to come with our top 5 bowl games.
Mm-hmm.
I did some deep diving. I did some investigative journalism that I have not done in a very long time. And you may have read this, you may have not. As I said over the weekend, I really wanted to see if they would come out with all the reasoning of why the committee did what they did.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it would ever happen. ESPN put out a very in-depth article about how they landed on leaving Florida State out, putting Alabama in, and how all the deliberations went. And it was very fascinating. And I have some bullet points for you because I want to see the way you feel about them.
Okay.
But I was happy that it happened, and it really sent me down a rabbit hole of like reading everything I possibly could about how they came to that decision, because obviously Florida State fans have every right to be pissed. Alabama fans are happy. It's incredible what all went into this.
Before you do the bullet points, I feel like I do have to talk to my Florida State fans, who I still have some. A lot of them have turned on me now. There's nobody in the world that thinks you didn't get screwed, including me. You got screwed. We have a system that was going to screw somebody. 5 teams for 4 spots. In the situation the committee was in, I would have screwed you too. You're this team I would have chosen to screw, but that doesn't mean you weren't absolutely fucked by the committee. You were, and I agree with it, and you're right. Unfortunately, the system that we have, the results that they gave us were the right results. Okay, now, continue on to the bullet points of what you're talking about.
No, so I do think that Florida State fans, as I've said, have every right to be as pissed as possible, and I would be as well. One of the biggest things that it came down to, and there are many different ways, but this to me was the most, I think it was the right thing to do, but also kind of the most telling of where it was. So they said there was never a moment that they thought about leaving Texas out, that there was never a deliberation on if they would leave Texas out of the college football playoff because they had, quote, too much respect for the week 2 win in Tuscaloosa over Alabama. So all the conversations that were being had outside of the committee of could they leave Alabama out or could they leave Texas out for Alabama, that was never even remotely a possibility. That to me said that they were sitting there a lot. We now know that head-to-head does matter. So all the different conversations of, well, why schedule hard games if they're not going to come into fruition? It didn't matter if it was week 1 or week 13. That came into it. Before they went to sleep that night, they had voted between 6 to 8 times, which is bizarre. Like how many times, whatever. They could not come up with a decision between Florida State and Alabama. Before they went to sleep, they had no idea what they wanted to do. They continued to vote, could not come up with an answer. They went to sleep that night and then woke up and re-voted in the morning. And that is when they decided to put Alabama in over Florida State. That's how kind of down to the last second that it was for them to make that decision. And that to me was, I think that's fascinating because I think that they could not come up with a collective answer. I know they were all staying in the Gaylord Texan, which is a phenomenal hotel. But I also was kind of like, well, did they get to go home and like talk to their wife or husband or partner and say, well, what do you think? Like, I kind of wish they never got to leave that conference room.
Is it like jury selection where you have to be sequestered?
I asked that multiple times. I couldn't find the answer.
Interesting.
But does that surprise you, Brandon?
No, I don't. It doesn't surprise me because it was a difficult decision. It was a very difficult decision. It was, you have a team, you do not want, nobody ever wants to punish a 13-0 team. They don't. And nobody on the committee entered this process wanting to do that. At the same time, for the good of the sport, for the good of the playoff, would Florida State getting in have harmed one of those games? Would it have been a competitive advantage for a team that got to play them? I think maybe so. No. I think definitely so. So it was a difficult decision, but that's why these people are on a committee. The committee was started so somebody can make these decisions. They got in there, they hashed it out. It was probably tough. It was probably tooth and nail. I'm sure there was somebody in there that was absolutely pounding the table for Florida State. Somebody in there pounding the table for Alabama. Ultimately, Alabama won the discussion, and it sucks for Florida State. But yeah, like all of these stories check out to me. I came to the conclusion early on in the process, looking at it, what I was going to do. I was going to go Alabama. Well, once Alabama beat Georgia, I thought, okay, that's it, Alabama. But I see where a lot of people have back and forth on it, back and forth thoughts. So yeah, everything you said sounds right to me.
They said it was, quote, way more complicated and way more agonizing than some people may think, but that it allowed them to do something that they intentionally never do. They said the word avoid every week, which is to look ahead, which is to your point. Like, they did not look at what had happened up to that point. They looked ahead at what Florida State. One of the interesting things is they talked about Georgia, and they were asked about how they came to the conclusion that Georgia should not be in that conversation. And they said there was not enough support for Georgia as one of the best teams in the country because of the standards for the team that don't win their conference championship. That was fascinating to me as well, because on this very podcast, we argue all the time about how much conference titles should matter. And for the 4-team spot that they have, they said that they did not even really have that conversation with Georgia because they had lost to Alabama at the SEC championship, whether you agree with that or not. So just very fascinating kind of look inside of what they were doing. But that, it came down to...
So my stance is I don't think a conference championship should ever make you qualified. But if you have multiple qualified teams, conference championship can be used as maybe a divider, in the sense that I think there were 7 qualified teams for these spots: Ohio State, Georgia, and the 5 that we're talking about already. And if you've got 7 teams, well, let's look at now I've got 5 conference champions and these 2. I'm going to chop these 2 off, and I'm just going to worry about the conference champions. Now, if it were a different year and you say you had 3 qualified teams and they're trying to go to a 4th spot, and you have a non-conference champion who has lost once and a conference champion who's lost twice, I don't think that conference title should mean that much. But in this instance, you had 5 teams that all won their conference and were all qualified, all needed to be in this discussion. So, yeah, let's not even worry about the non-conference champions in this particular instance, this narrow window.
Yeah, Boo Corrigan. Corrigan,
right?
Yeah, Corrigan. Boo Corrigan. My brain's
preposterous name, a ridiculous name.
Yeah, just NC State's AD. He was speaking out a lot about this, and he was very open with the kind of the process. And what it came down to is exactly what you just said. He said that basically that they had not seen in the history of the college football playoff 8 teams. They said 8 that they could have argued in for those top 4 spots.
Yeah.
And that the 1 through 5 conference champions all had either 0 losses or 1 losses. We had never seen that happen. So it's fascinating that it happened at the last time we're going to see 4 teams. But when I came in and saw Jack this morning, I was like, you were 1,000% right about the Texas not being left out. And he even said he was going to storm the Capitol, but that was never even a possibility. So all the people clamoring for Alabama to be in over Texas was a moot point. So just I wanted to do a little investigative journalism, so I did.
Allow me to take 1 second to talk about a remarkable thing about this season, and I realized it the other day, is for the last 10 years, 15 years maybe, every time Texas would win a big regular season game, they were the story of college football. Texas is back. Texas is this. Texas is that. And it was always Texas, Texas, Texas. Do you realize how quietly they got into this playoff? Like, this season, if you break it up into chunks, the first part of the season was dominated by two things, Colorado and Texas beating Alabama on the road. Colorado faded, and then the second and third half of parts of the season were dominated by the Michigan scandal and then Michigan beating Ohio State in that huge game. And that's really the story of the season. And so now we're sitting here today. The argument came down to Florida State and Alabama. Texas making the playoff in 2014, 2016, 2019 would have been far and away the biggest story in the sport. It would have been Texas is back headlines everywhere. Instead, they kind of quietly just took that win in week 2. They absorbed a loss, and they kind of quietly went about their business and got into the playoff. And now Texas, who would be the biggest story ever making the playoff, is just kind of quietly there.
Yeah, you're so right, because not only would I say that, their win in Tuscaloosa dominated, but then because they played Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship, the rematch with Oklahoma didn't happen. So, because I do think that would have dominated a lot of it. Now, it wouldn't have overshadowed what was going on with Michigan and Ohio State, but had they rematched with Oklahoma after losing to them in the Red River Shootout, we would have been talking about it a lot more. But when we got to conference championship weekend, there were very few people that thought Oklahoma State could beat them. Very few people thought Iowa could beat Michigan, if any. So they were a very low-key storyline. And when you look at the 4 that are in, Washington and Texas are just quietly sitting. Now, they have to play each other, so obviously it's going to ramp up. But Texas is just sitting there like, yeah, okay, we made it. We didn't have to play Oklahoma again. Great. Sark did it last year in the Big 12. Very fascinating. I do think that if they would have had to rematch Oklahoma, though, we probably would have been talking about it a lot more.
Yeah, probably so. And it's a shame Oklahoma lost 2 games instead of 1. We would have seen that rematch. But it is what it is. I just thought that was an interesting wrinkle. Now, we have bowl season.
Before you get to that, interesting piece of news just broke.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So, speaking of bowl season, Arizona Bowl is Toledo, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Seconds ago, it seems the head coach of Wyoming, Craig Bohl, is going to be retiring after our bowl.
Okay.
I think this is a really cool, obviously not cool. It's like we get the honor of that because he's been there for.
So I went out to Wyoming last year to do, and I think I might go this year to do some pre stuff. And Craig Bohl is the coach. Just a great old guy. I'd say he's an older gentleman, probably 60 or something. But he's been around coaching for a while. And I guess I've held this for a while, but I'll just go ahead and say it. He had some trepidation about the Barstool Bowl. He didn't 100% know what Barstool was or what we did. He didn't want his kids to get embarrassed. He didn't want his program to get embarrassed. And we talked, and I was like, no, coach, it's going to be good. You're going to enjoy it. And we had a great conversation, and he's a real leader out there. So that's a nice wrinkle to the Barstool Bowl that we will Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, that it will be Craig Bohl's last game.
Yeah, he won a lot of people over last year that didn't know much about him because his interviews were so great. And also the wrinkle with the Barstool Arizona Bowl this year too is we've had Wyoming, and then obviously Dan was given the key to Toledo when we were there last year for the Barstool College Football Show. So quite a matchup for us.
Wyoming travels so well. It was insane.
People, Brandon, I know that you probably saw this too, but we did our pregame show on the field, and we did it like hours and hours and hours before it actually aired because it was pre-taped. So people were talking a lot of shit because there was nobody in the stands behind us because I don't even think they had opened the stadium for seating yet.
Yeah.
When you actually watch that game, that was a great turnout for that year. I anticipate it being the same way this year because Toledo loves themselves some Barstool.
Yeah, and the Wyoming side was full last year, pretty much full. And the Ohio side was almost full. All right, now speaking of bowls, I asked you guys to bring your 5 most exciting bowls, the 5 bowls you're most excited about. I'm going to be honest. We're heading into an era where we're going to have a 12-team playoff. We're in an era right now where a lot of stars opt out, where the transfer portal is going wild. I think we might be entering an era where December belongs to the transfer portal more than it belongs to bowl games. I really do. I could not come up with 5 bowl games I'm truly, truly, truly excited about. I could have lied and said Tennessee, Iowa, yeah, sign me up. I got 3. And I'm just going to tell you the truth. I'm the number 1 college football media personality in the country. So if I say there's not 5 bowls to be excited about, there's not 5 bowls to be excited about. Now, that is exempting the playoff. The playoff doesn't count in this.
Correct.
This is non-playoff bowls.
Non-playoff bowls, yes. Yeah, I was going to do the Casey semantics thing and make sure that we all knew we're not talking about the playoff.
You're a great example, right?
Oh, God.
No, really. Your team plays in a bowl.
Yes.
Are you more excited right now to find out who your quarterback's going to be next year from the transfer portal, who you're going to bring in, who your offensive and defensive coordinators are going to be? Are you more excited about that, or are you more excited about the bowl game? Of course you're more excited about that.
It's not even close.
Not even close.
It's not even close. A&M's playing Oklahoma State in the Texas Bowl, which is in Houston, which is basically College Station's backyard and vice versa. I will watch that game. I hope A&M wins. I hope A&M kicks the shit out of Oklahoma State. That is peanuts in comparison to the future of this program. And, you know, didn't you just get Colin Klein? Yes, as the offensive coordinator. The picture that's surfacing right now of him next to Johnny and Manti Te'o for the Heisman Trophy is so weird. It's just so strange. Yes, he will be our offensive coordinator under Mike Elko. You know, and a lot of, you know, talking about transfer portal, you know, like Evan Stewart talking about the NIL stuff, and then me coming to his defense, which was great because Aggie fans were mad at me for a little bit, whatever. That to me is way more fascinating than bowl games. Now, with that being said, as you know, anytime, like you saying what you just said is 100% correct. There are going to be people like, well, anytime there's college football, it's good. Absolutely. And we will be watching every single bowl game. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who will be gambling on every single bowl game. This is the last year I feel like that this exercise that Brandon sent to us is actually going to like really even matter, because once you've got the 12-team playoff, unless your team is playing outside of those games, you're probably not going to care about any of them. You watch them, but you're not going to care about any of them.
All right.
Haven't we said since day one, though, especially Brandon, you've been saying a lot, that bowls are not the finale of your season. It's the preseason for next year.
Yep. And it's probably more accurate now than it's ever been. Even though now transfer portal kind of makes it hard. Like, you got to wonder with some of these teams who's going to be their quarterback, like who's going to be doing this. But it really is, if you view it as the jumping off point to your 2024 season instead of the reward for your 2023 season, it makes a lot more sense.
Well, yeah, and it's like I talked to Ev this morning. I was like, who's going to play quarterback in your bowl game? Like I don't like who, and he was like, well, we've got this young kid, and you know we're really eyeing Riley Leonard, and yeah, but there's just like, it's the same thing that you just said. Insert team name, insert fan base. The way that you just presented to me about A&M is everybody. You want to know who's going to be your quarterback. If you're looking for a coach, you're looking for a staff, that's what you care about. And then you'll turn it on and you'll root for your team and you'll move on.
Now, there are certain fan bases that are very excited. If there are teams that are in a spot they're not usually in, they're super excited. Like Missouri is playing Ohio State. That's a gigantic game for them. They should be very, very excited. To finish 11-2 with a win over Ohio State would be so fucking big for that team. To finish 12-1 with a win over Missouri doesn't matter at all for Ohio State. Not even a little bit.
No, they are so mad that not only they lost to Michigan, that they lost to Michigan and didn't backdoor their way into the college football playoff the way that they did last year, which they weren't going to do this year because of everything we mentioned in earlier segments. So it really depends. There's also so, like, you know, looking at USC, like Caleb Williams is probably not going to play. Would it be surprising?
Oh, confirmed.
It is confirmed.
Yeah.
So, like, and why would he? So there's a lot of different things that go into it. I will say, now I do not give a single shit about the games that are being played in the Pop-Tart Bowl.
Yeah.
That's on my list, too.
Brandon, have you seen what they're doing for the Pop-Tart Bowl?
The edible mascot?
Yeah.
And at the end of the game, the winning team all gets to take a bite out of it. Now, it sounds disgusting. And that Pop-Tart's going to be in locker rooms and all over the stadium, and people are going to be touching it, and then everybody's going to be eating off the same Pop-Tart. I love it. I think it's hilarious.
No, I'm the same way. I think how Brandon said that bowls won't matter, and I agree. I think it's on the individual bowls to make the content around it exciting. Like Mayo, the Mayo dump. Yeah. The Mayo social team right now is going hog wild everywhere on their announcement.
I love Mayo.
It's like the Cheez-It Bowl, the Cheez-It Gatorade bath. It's on those individual bowls to make it exciting.
Brandon, would you take a bite out of the Pop-Tart?
I don't like Pop-Tarts. So maybe not. I don't know. I would take a bite out of most things, but I don't know if I would.
What?
How do you not like Pop-Tarts?
I have long said that's my stance. I think Pop-Tarts are the most overrated food we've ever created in America. I don't think they're good. I think they're so bland. They're entirely based on the coating, and the coating doesn't cover up much of the blandness to me, and I don't like Pop-Tarts.
I know that
disappointment.
you've said they're overrated, but you get like a
I don't
good
like
strawberry
Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tart, and you put that baby in a toaster or a toaster oven.
I will
and
say
you get that. Oh,
the raw Pop-Tart. I love Pop-Tarts. I will not do them raw. I will not do
I
them
will.
frozen. I think it should be toasted only.
I will raw dog the hell out of that Pop-Tart.
All right. Well, that's getting clipped somewhere.
Clipped.
Okay. Casey, give me your 5 bowls you're most excited about.
So excluding the college football playoff, obviously,
And
I
I would assume we're excluding the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl, or
yes,
Okay.
It's also
Yes.
on my list.
Yeah, I do not have that one checked because we are all excited for the Barstool Sports Arizona Bowl across the board.
Yeah.
So there that is. Okay, so I kind of felt the same way as you. It's hard to find 5. I did put in A&M Oklahoma State in the Texas Bowl on December 27th for obvious reasons. I understand that the future is much more important, but the fact that they're playing Oklahoma State. I saw people online saying it's the little brother bowl. That one hurt. That one burned. I refuse to acknowledge it as the little brother bowl, but winning that bowl game is important to me for such reasons.
Sorry, it is funny.
Sorry. Honestly, when I saw Texas and Oklahoma fans doing it, I was like, if I was in their position, I'd say the same thing. It's false. It's false. It's unequivocally false. But I want to win that bowl. Arizona, Oklahoma, Brandon, in the Alamo Bowl on December 28th. I have Missouri, Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl on the 29th. The Peach Bowl, Ole Miss, Penn State on December 30th. And then Georgia, Florida State in the Orange Bowl on December 30th. I assume we have some crossover.
Oh, no, you've said all of mine already. I'd love to sit here and pretend that I'm just over the moon about Air Force and JMU, or I'm just, I'm going to watch them. I'm not saying I'm not going to watch them, but am I throwing a party for Auburn, Maryland? I'm not. So there's not that many. Wisconsin LSU, I guess, is pretty interesting. That'll be Jaden Daniels' probably only game he ever plays as the Heisman Trophy winner. But
You think he'll play?
Yeah, I don't know why I thought he would. Yeah, good
I
point.
don't.
Good
Bo
point.
Nix is playing, so it is possible.
Good point.
Supposedly.
What's your list, Katie?
It is UNC West Virginia, Homer. I like Arizona, Oklahoma because I think we've already seen Oklahoma fans are, even though Arizona's ranked, they're not accepting that matchup whatsoever. They think they've been snubbed. They think it's bad.
Yeah.
So a lot of mine follow a similar theme. If Arizona wins, the drama that is going to come out of that from the Oklahoma fan base, I think is going to be very entertaining.
Well, that also goes back to what Brandon was saying about Ohio State, Missouri. Like, Oklahoma beating Arizona is like, okay, whatever. Arizona finishing the season the way they have with a win over Oklahoma is huge for that.
Well, here's the thing. Arizona's a better football team than Oklahoma, period.
Yes.
Arizona's a better football team than Oklahoma. Now, where I would give Oklahoma a mark in the exciting department here is I assume it's going to be Jackson Arnold's show. This freshman quarterback, this 5-star freshman quarterback that played a little bit this year, but I assume he's going to be the starter and he's going to go, and they're going to get their first glimpse of the Jackson Arnold era. Now, if he comes out and throws for 400 touchdowns, that'd be a lot. 400 yards and 3 touchdowns, and they win, look out, because the hype train for Oklahoma is going to be off the charts this summer, deservedly so at that point.
For a similar reason, I have Ohio State, Missouri. Like you talked, Missouri is going to lose their shit if they win. I think Ohio State in the opposite way is going to lose their shit. They don't accept. Missouri doesn't have the brand recognition of being a good team. Even if Ohio State, half their team is opted out by now, if they lose that game, they're going to be furious. So I think that's just the content sense. I had the Arizona Bowl, and then the same thing as Casey said, I had NC State, Kansas State, just because of the Pop-Tart Bowl, and I want to see what happens in the aftermath.
And you know what? I mean, I got FSU, Georgia.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, I didn't do any of the New Year's Six
That's
ones.
fine, but I got Oklahoma, Arizona, and Ole Miss, Penn State. I'll tell you why I got Ole Miss, Penn State. I think both will try. I think both will give it everything they got. I think both want to win. And I think both will play their quarterbacks. Like Drew Aller is the quarterback of Penn State. He will play. And I believe Jackson Arnold will – what's his name?
Dart.
Jackson Dart will play as well for Ole Miss. So I think you're going to get the best of both teams, and that's going to be rare in these bowl games. I have no interest
sorry, go ahead.
I have no interest in watching Liberty play a bowl they don't deserve to be in.
The fact that Oregon went from being the favorite to win the Pac-12, presumably in the playoffs, and they're now in the G5 Bowl, and they're favored by 20 points.
Yeah, they're going to kill him.
Liberty is 12-0, and that's great. Nobody wants to dock them for the fact they had literally the worst strength of schedule in America.
It's crazy. And they played no Power 5 teams.
Like, I thought it was hyperbole. I looked it up. Let me go pull
No,
it up.
they rank 133rd in strength of schedule.
Yeah.
It's god awful. And who obviously Oregon could probably play their third string, and I still think would handle that game easily. That game to me, I could not give a shit about. And I don't understand how they're there. But Brandon, going back to the Peach Bowl, and I know that we hate doing this, and I hate people online that do this when they're like, oh, the SEC went 4-5 against the Big Ten in bowl season, and everyone's like, okay, well, you didn't take into consideration they weren't playing their starters, or the Big Ten, whatever. Ole Miss, Penn State, because I do think everybody's going to play. That is fascinating to me because we keep, we say Penn State is so good, right? Penn State is the third best team in the Big Ten. They only lose to Ohio State. They only lose to Michigan. Last year it was even better because both of those teams were in the playoff. And then we look at Ole Miss every year and we're like, well, they're always in the top 10, but then they somehow have a loss that puts them in the fraudulent category. To me, of all the bowl games, that is the bowl game we're going to be able to look at what the top half of the SEC looks like versus the top half of the Big Ten that didn't make it to a New Year's Six or into the college football playoff. That's fascinating to me as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. Certainly,
like James Franklin versus Lane Kiffin, the two coaches that catch a lot of shit online. A lot of people love them, a lot of people hate them.
What shit does hold on? What shit does Lane Kiffin catch?
Not doing getting over the Alabama hump. Like, you're always
not ever winning the big game.
Wait, is Lane Kiffin the James Franklin of the SEC?
I don't know that I've ever asked that question, but I okay, all right, I see that.
It's like James Franklin can't beat Ohio State or Michigan, and every time that they're presented that opportunity, I think James Franklin has been doing it for longer in that way. Like, he's been just like failing at beating those teams for longer. But I do think that when you talk about Ole Miss and you talk about like where they have been since Lane's gotten hired, they've been the best they've ever been, right? I mean, they've won more games with him than they ever had before. However, a lot of people say, when Ole Miss is in those big games, in those opportunities, they can't get over that hump, whether it be against Nick Saban or not. This is one of those bowl games where you're really going to see these two coaches make coaching decisions against each other. I think Ole Miss is going to win the game. I do not believe in Penn State and Drew Aller, but I do think that, when you look at everything outside the playoff, like that game is going to be the most fascinating because I think those teams are going to be the most intact.
All right, before we go any further, let's talk about nuts. You want to talk about nuts?
I love nuts.com.
Cashews, almonds, pecans, pistachios, dried mangoes, crystallized ginger, dates, jelly beans, jawbreakers, root beer barrels. The variety is incredible. At nuts.com. Nuts.com is your one-stop shop for freshly roasted nuts, dried fruits, sweets, pantry staples like specialty flours, and more. Their wide selection means there is something for everyone. Nuts.com offers plenty of gluten-free options, organic choices, and other diet-friendly products. Whether you are looking for something sweet, savory, or need to stock up on everyday cooking essentials, you're bound to find something to try at nuts.com. Nuts.com. I like nuts.com.
I like nuts.com. I'm going to say something that I need to word it correctly. Otherwise, it's going to sound like just a straight up not family-friendly podcast ad. So a lot of times when you eat nuts, they come in these small bags, right?
Yep,
and like, Brandon, I can only imagine how you deal with that because your hands are much bigger than mine.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I hate sticking my hand into a small bag of nuts. Nuts.com, when they sent me like their care package for being a sponsor on the podcast, they come in these gigantic bags that are like snacks, family snack size. It is so awesome because I love cashews, and the bag is just sitting next to me on the couch while I'm watching games, and I can just stick my hand into the bag of nuts, the big bag of nuts, and not get my hands stuck.
Listen, woman, I got some things that are weird about me. I'm scared of balloons. I really am. That's the one thing that scares me in life. But you can't handle sticking your hand into a small bag of nuts?
You cannot tell me that if you are hungry and you're wanting a snack and you're sitting there and you're just like, every time you stick your hand in the small bag of whatever it may be, and it like, you got to like squeeze your hand in there, and then you come out with like 2 or 3 little things. You're like, no, I want a handful of this snack. See, I almost said a handful of nuts. Yeah,
so
look, I'm evolving.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Do it. Just do it. Just
do it. Do it. It'll feel good.
So you prefer a big nut sack?
You see, I tried to stay family friendly. Read the ad.
All right. Shop a la carte anytime or opt into hassle-free auto deliveries so you never run out of your favorite items. And if you're already stocked up at home, They also sell directly to businesses. Right now, Nuts.com offering new customers a free gift with purchase and free shipping on orders of $29 or more at Nuts.com/rough. So go check out all the delicious options at Nuts.com/rough. You'll receive a free gift and free shipping when you spend $29 or more. That's Nuts.com/rough. Now, Casey, you said did you bring an activity or a question?
I do. I have a question for you, but can I also say something there? I know
Well,
I
hold
hope
on,
most
before-
people that are watching and listening don't do what I'm about to say,
Okay.
which is skip the ads. If they skipped that ad, they really missed an all-time Brandon Walker quote. Like the way that you put all of what I said together into that. I hope you did not skip the nutsack reference.
I
Go
don't think
rewind and listen.
anybody should ever skip a Brandon Walker ad read. You never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen. Okay, so as he's eating lunch, it's fine. It's fine. You know what? It's
Casey,
the middle of the day.
I'm so dang hungry.
Me too.
I know.
I get it.
I'm flying to Chicago this afternoon, and all I can think about is make sure I get like a full meal before I get on the plane. Because boy, do I get cranky when I get those small bags of nuts on the plane.
Nuts.com has spoiled you.
Stop, Brandon. Stop. Okay. So it's not necessarily an exercise. It's more of a question, and I think it maybe even be a bigger debate. Uh-oh, he's mad. What happened? You didn't get sauce?
They've got a straw.
Straw.
He's throwing a tantrum.
The fact that you knew that without just looking at him, for people that are listening, which again, a lot of people listen to this, not just watch it. He's banging on the table.
Just take the top off and drink out of it like a big cup.
Be a human. There you go.
I feel
Sippy
like
cup.
Jack would be like straws.
Oh,
like straws
yeah.
up for
We'd be on a straw rant right now. So, my question for you, Brandon, and this was before I even really got into my, put my Big J journo hat on and did all the stuff we did at the beginning of the show. There's a lot of debate right now of what Florida State not should just do in the bowl game, but moving forward because of the way that they were snubbed. So my question to you is, if you are Mike Norvell right now, and you know that you have to be, a leader of men, you have to obviously put on a happy face, get up there, and the screenshot of him and Kirby Smart, by the way, next to each other on that Zoom is phenomenal for the Peach Bowl or for the Orange Bowl. But if you're Mike Norvell right now, how in the world do you get your team up for this bowl game? And I understand a win's a win, and yes, you're beating Georgia, but
I think
listen.
It's remarkably easy to get that team up. This is me thinking, everybody in that room is a competitor, I assume. And when you fall short of the playoff on your own accord, I think it can be second nature to phone in your bowl game, to not give it your all, to realize you cost yourself a chance at a bigger thing. But that didn't happen to this team. This team did everything the right way, and some men in a room decided they're not going to get to play for a national championship. So they got to go up against the Georgia team, who everybody still says is better. Everybody has told this team, you don't have Jordan Travis, therefore you're not good enough. That's all they've been told for weeks. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. All I got to do is walk in the middle of that room, look at everybody in the eye. Are you good enough? Do you need them to know that you're good enough? Well, guess what? There's a defending national champ in that other locker room that doesn't care about this game and thinks you are not as good as them. Go out there and show me you're good enough. Done. I just wrote a speech for him. That's easy.
And I love it. So here's my follow-up question, because I believe that's what you were going to say, which I do think is much easier to motivate when you did not lose. I know there's a lot of talk about who's going to be sitting out for Georgia or whatever. The follow-up to that is why should they care about winning? They were just told winning every single one of their games doesn't matter. And we've been told for a long time bowl games don't matter. So if you're now, yes, they're competitors, but and I've seen a lot of, coaches in different stages and different levels of coaching come out and be like, how am I supposed to sit in front of my team now and say, as a team, you have to win every game, but if one guy gets hurt, you're told you're not good enough. And how is that supposed to motivate the other 10 guys on offense, the 11 guys on defense that didn't get hurt? And I think that that's a fascinating debate and argument, because I feel like that is true. Like, okay, you won every single game. You did what you were told to do. You did what was in front of you, and you were told it wasn't good enough. That's tough.
Because if you lose, they were right. If you go down there and Georgia beats the pants off of you, they win 49-14, they were right. The committee that took this opportunity from you was right. The fans who said you're not good enough were right. So if you go out there and beat Georgia and you can stick it in their eye and you can be 14-0 for all of eternity, no, you don't win a national title. But fuck it, you'll be the team everybody talks about from here to the end of time as somebody that got fucked. If you lose by 30, nobody's going to remember this team.
He's good.
Send Brandon to the locker room.
Yeah. I hate to admit it.
I have you been seeing those debates on Twitter? Again, maybe I'm just like in my like deep.
Let me tell you what I've been seeing on Twitter that needs to stop.
Oh no.
Well,
Oh God.
I think Rick Scott did it. Run DeSanctimonious is doing it. It's the best nickname ever. The fact that anybody in the state of Florida is threatening legal action or we should sue them for millions of dollars. We got to sue this, sue that. Shut up. Shut up. It's over. A committee who was charged with making a tough decision made a tough decision, and you were on the other side of it. No lawsuits, no lawyers, no judges. Ain't nobody going to jail. You're just not playing in a football game you thought you should play in. That's it. To drop all this lawsuit, this legal mumbo jumbo. Shut the fuck up. It makes you look worse. No.
I hate that we're living in an era now where it's like if you think that you got wronged by things that should not have legal action taken against them, you threaten legal action.
Also,
like it just waters it down, right? Like there are so many things that actually need legal action and that actually need the criminal justice system to get involved. Getting left out of the college football playoff, albeit I still believe an incorrect decision, and as Brandon has said, life's not fair, an unfair decision, you don't get to threaten legal action against it. It waters it down, folks. Sorry.
Yeah. As Casey said, they're lawmakers. We love college football. It's our lives. You have more important things to do.
I'd say so, yes.
Than college football games.
But yeah, that I just like the Twitter streets, the debates. I know Jack mentioned it earlier. Like people are so pissed at Kirk Herbstreit right now because apparently, on College Game Day, they were almost setting up Florida State before the Jordan Travis injury to not make it into the playoff. But everybody is just like, this Florida State thing is going to be going on for a very long time. And again, I think everybody should be pissed about it. But I do see the angle of, we did everything we were supposed to do. You won every single game, and we were told it wasn't good enough. So it's like, what do you say moving forward? If one guy gets hurt, the whole program gets screwed. Yeah. That has to suck.
It sucks. It's terrible. I wish it hadn't happened. Didn't happen. So. Well,
you do wish it happened, to be fair.
No, I don't. At no point did I say that. I never wanted Florida State to be the team that got screwed like this. I was right. Like I looked at the objective facts and chose the right side, but I didn't want Florida State to be screwed.
Yeah, that's fair. I think what I meant is you wanted Florida State to be left out.
No, again, I just chose what I thought would happen, and therefore it makes it look like that because do I want to be right? Sure, but I chose what I thought would happen. It happened. It came from no desire to see Florida State screwed, or it just came from a desire to be right, I guess.
And have a better playoff because
I most competitive.
Well, and I can fully admit, like I thought Florida State would get in. I believe Florida State should have gotten in. I also can admit that Alabama is a better choice for a competitive playoff. Like watching Michigan Alabama, I believe is going to be way more entertaining and fun than watching Michigan play Florida State. Could be wrong, but it doesn't matter because we're not going to see it.
All right, anything else?
No, you need to eat because you're cranky and you're hangry.
I got to eat too. I'm surprised Casey hasn't heard my stomach rumbling.
Katie, you going to bring my vest this weekend?
Maybe.
What vest?
He left it at so many people left clothes at the Ann Arbor house. Yes, good reminder.
Okay.
Do you have it here? I can bring it to him. I'm going to Chicago today.
No, it's in Connecticut. Okay. I also have something I texted you about. You need to remind me to take documents out of my bag.
All right. I think we can end it right there. Once we start talking about documents in our bags and stuff, we're just wasting time. So
she was trying to talk to you, and she knows you're not going to answer.
I heard her.
Just go off, King.
Okay.
I think we're to the side.
Let's go ahead and shut her. Yeah, that's the thing. This is my camera. That's my TV screen where I look at y'all.
Which, again, I've done it too many times this episode, which is kind of impressive. Like, he hears us and just talks to a blank camera.
Yeah, I've been staring at nothing the whole time. There's nobody over there. I'm the only one in the room.
I'm going to be honest. That's just doing TV.
So if we just, all flash you at once, you're just going to miss it.
Oh.
There we go. Side eye.
Okay, that's unnecessary roughness.
All right. Yeah, that's unnecessary roughness.